and this is Politically Unstable. Today, I am joined by Keri Ingraham. She is, now I'm going to get this your entire title out. She is the Senior Fellow at the Discovery Institute. She's the Director of the American Center for Transforming Education, and she's also a Senior Fellow at the Independence Women's Forum. So thank you for joining us, Keri.
You bet, Kelly. My pleasure.
So we're going to talk all things education, basically K through 12, school across the nation, and in the column that you wrote for us this week. And you were talking about a very innovative school model out in Michigan, where they're teaching children how to become pilots. Can you kind of expand on that and how that came to be? And are other states or other schools kind of looking at this model as a way to kind of get kids the training that they need to immediately enter the workforce?
Absolutely. Well, there's pockets of amazing innovation happening all around our country, but they're far too rare. And let me just share with you the most recent example of a school I got to tour that you referenced up in Grand Rapids, Michigan. It's called the West Michigan Aviation Academy. And this school is actually in their 14th year, but very few people know about it nationally. And it should be a national headline because it's a model that deserves replication. They're able to serve 620 high school students in grades 9 through 12 each year. They're waitlisted. Families even relocate from within the state to be closer to send their child to the school because it's that exceptional. And how this came about was businessman and also pilot himself, Dick DeVos, founded the school in 2010 as a tuition-free public charter school. And so the school is open to any student in the state, regardless of any qualifications, academics or beyond. But when they get to that school, they have the opportunity to not only complete all of their regular high school academics for their high school graduation requirements, but to take a host of amazing courses that prepare them, whether it's careers in aviation, students can become licensed pilots when they're there, aerospace design, STEM courses. They have over 20 engineering courses a year. And so this school attracts students because they have the opportunity to learn skills, get hands-on training in this industry of aerospace, engineering, STEM, industries that are not only high demand right now, but they're high growth in the future. And so parents see, this is going to be a way to motivate my student, connect with their passions, but also give them an on-ramp for success post-high school.
So this is a charter school. So can you tell us how this works exactly? So do you have to be a resident of Michigan in order to attend this school? Do you have to pay any tuition? How do the dynamics of the charter school work?
Well, it's open to any student within the state. And so there's no requirement, it's not a private school where perhaps, they have to take a academic test for entrance. It's open to any student where there's space. But because of the demand, the wait list is extremely long. And so that's where replication will be tremendous within Michigan, but also around the country. It is free, tuition free, because it is a public charter school. And the school does get funds from the state because they are a public school, but they don't get as many funds as a traditional district school. And so how they offset that for all of these incredible programs that they have at the school, for example, students build a full FAA airplane, full size. The school sells it. They're able to purchase another kit. I mean, just incredible things. But they tap into the local community, and business people see we want to be a part of growing the workforce in our region, in our community, because that's going to pay dividends to our companies. And so there's the opportunity for philanthropy to come in and offset some of those costs. But also, as a charter school, they're freed up from some of the regulations of those district schools.
So let's take a step back. This is a very innovative model, a charter school that's giving kids like real-time STEM learning and actual skills in order to go out into the workforce. But, during the COVID-19 pandemic, a lot of schools, public schools were shut down. And we know that Randy Weingarten said that this isn't going to affect the children at all. They're malleable. They'll bounce back. And lo and behold, even the New York Times editorial board has admitted the damage done to students, especially in elementary school, those pivotal years of learning how to read and do mathematics. And now, the February test scores, the national test scores also came in very, very low. And the students clearly haven't recovered from that learning loss yet. And a lot of parents, I'm a parent of three boys. I took my kids out of the public system in Virginia and put them in a private school that was still going in school full time in person during the pandemic to try to curb those losses. But truancy rates are high in these public schools. Parents are dissatisfied with what the children are being taught. A lot of cultural things, transgenderism, etc., is being pushed in these public schools. So school choice has gained a lot of momentum in the previous years. Parents wanting to kind of take control of their child's education, put them in charter schools, homeschool them. There's a bunch of different options, but some states allow these options to prosper. Other states, more blue states, try to protect the public school system by having very limited choices. In your opinion, in your expertise, what states have been remarkable or been making, the headway in allowing school choice and giving parents more of an option on their children's education?
Well, Kelly, I mean, you touched on so much there, dating back to the pandemic. And to your point, in the fall of 2020, private schools opened. They said, we're here to serve our families. And in some states, public schools stayed closed, spanning 3 different school years. And during that time, parents had the front row seat through those Zoom remote sessions to see what was being taught, which was not academics for the majority of the instruction, but it was these far left, very harmful political agendas, whether it was critical race theory, radical gender ideology, an anti American worldview, rewriting of history. And parents were concerned. And as they spoke up, their demands were silenced, and the teacher unions just doubled down on these agendas. And so we've had this mass exodus. And as a result, lawmakers have noticed, and they've heard parents, and they've been responsive in red states to their constituents. And they understand that families need a better way and a better option if that public school is not teaching solid academics. And so, what we saw was absolutely incredible in 2022, where 2 states, West Virginia and Arizona, became the first in the nation to enact what we call universal school choice. That means they put in a free market system for education at the K 12 level in their state, where a family is empowered with the taxpayer money to take it to the educational provider of their choice. They can apply it to homeschool through these education savings accounts. They can use it for a variety of like hybrid learning, online learning. They can take it to a traditional private school. Lots of options, like very flexible to customize to the uniqueness of their individual child, because no two children are the same. You probably know that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But so tell me a little bit more about this, because I live in Virginia. Obviously, this is not available to me. But does the state cut parents a check that they can use however they want to in determining their child's education? How does it work monetarily?
Yes, that's a great question. And so as those 2 states, laid the template there, we're now today at 11 states in our country. And those states do it a little bit different. So some have this education savings accounts, some have private school scholarships, other have tax credits. But a lot of times those funds are put into something called like a digital wallet. And so the funds are there, and there's a third party service that then allocates the state provided funding to the education providers for parents. And so they're trying to make that process just as seamless as possible. They want to make it as transparent. There's high accountability for how those funds can be used. And so lots of states are just working out, how do we continue to serve families better? But they're doing an incredible job of giving taxpayers just such transparency and accountability of those funds, far more than traditional public schools have to do with those funds. but a lot of times it's through this digital wallet platform.
So the teachers unions basically say that the abundance of charter schools drains the public school system. It hurts the public school system by allowing there to be choice. And they have a robust lobbying arm in many states, in all the states actually. So how did Arizona and West Virginia kind of overcome the opposition from the teachers unions?
Well, I'll say Governor Doug Ducey, he was governor at the time in Arizona when this passed, and he laid the groundwork for a few years going into it, explaining to people just the principles of free markets. And COVID teed it up really well because parents had that front row seat to see what was not being taught. They saw their children struggling. And then they saw how unresponsive schools were to their concerns, to helping their child. It was very much about what's best for the adults, what's most convenient. Oh, teachers like to work from home. Let's keep this going. And so he was able to message that and communicate it to the everyday person in his state. And that helped people get behind it. And then since then, sent the template for these other 11 states. All of those, other than one, do have a Republican trifecta. And it was only one state where it was a supermajority in the House and Senate that overrode the Democrat governor's veto of the bill to pass it. But in time, the benefits to the state are going to be enormous. Workforce development, the societal benefits, and especially in their economy in these states. People are moving into states where there's universal school choice now. And so in time, I think those blue states are going to have to take notice. We're even seeing in some red states, Texas, for example, in the most recent election, rural Republican representatives who voted against this last year have now been unelected. Their stakeholders said, we're not going to reelect you. And so it's this sweeping movement where a lot of credit goes to those first governors. And then moving into 2023, Governor Kim Reynolds in Iowa, Kevin Stitt in Oklahoma, just tremendous governors that have set the bar for others. Definitely have to mention Governor Ron DeSantis in Florida. According to Heritage Education report card, Education Freedom, he has received the honor of Florida being the most free state, not just, for business or other things, but for education freedom for families. And a lot of families are moving to Florida because of that, as well as other states.
Well, I mean, it shouldn't be a political issue in the first place, right? Everyone who has children and wants to send their children to school and they want their children to get the best education possible. So we should not be trying to protect teachers in their profession for wanting to do their jobs and at the detriment of our children. I mean, I think that this is a movement that is common sense to most parents out there, regardless if you're a Republican or a Democrat. To wrap things up, we're now in 2024. We're moving ahead. We've seen the school choice movement gain steam since 2020. What do you anticipate are the next states to enact things? Where do you see this movement going? Do you see it fizzling out now that we're 4 years post pandemic and people are getting more comfortable with public school? Kind of what are the next steps for the movement?
Yeah, I definitely don't see it slowing down. And to a comment you made a moment ago, you're exactly right. Parents across party lines embrace school choice. They want that for their children, but it's a matter of the strongholds of some of the elected officials who are so tied with those teacher unions, having to pick between their constituents, these families, and their ties there. But I don't see this slowing down. Louisiana, anticipate they're going to be one of the next states. They've got a really strong governor in office now who's a champion of education freedom. Tennessee is going to move the needle on universal school choice here. And so this will just continue. But also what we're seeing is more and more families are exiting the public system. And it hasn't slowed down since COVID. And they're looking for other options. As one example, over the last 4 years, classical education outside of the public system has just exploded at an annual growth rate of 4.8% year after year of the past 4 years. And so parents want to know, what's another way I can educate my child? And they're going online, they're researching, they're talking to other families, and then they're finding a way to exit the system. And what that universal school choice does is it allows families across socioeconomic lines to have options and opportunities for their children.
Well, Keri, thanks so much for joining me today. This has been very educational, and I hope that all of our viewers press their elected officials, no matter where you are in the country, for more universal school choice and options for families. Thank you, Keri.
Thanks, Kelly.